We're going to have a mixed ability mat-based class. So I want you to come down onto the floor. We're going to start in 4-point kneeling. And if for any reason that doesn't suit you, then you can mimic the moves that we're going to be doing now in a standing position. But otherwise, on the assumption that you're happy to kneel, bring yourself down into a square box, into a tabletop position. Now, just make sure that your hands are underneath your shoulders and your knees are underneath your hips. If holding your hands flat on the floor is uncomfortable, remember I mentioned this before, you can get dumbbells and hold the dumbbells like so that your wrist is long. Also, I saw in Decathlon at the weekend, I know a couple of you have them, like irons, and they have a higher handle, so you can hold them like so. And again, it stops your wrist at becoming such a sharp angle. So that is an alternative for you. All right, hands on the floor, knees on the floor. And I want you just to start by coming into as rounded a spine as you can and pull your belly button right up into your backbone and then reverse it. Now, don't lift your chin too high, but send your ribs, send your belly right down towards the floor. And then again, reverse it. I want you to see how much movement you can create from the base of your neck to your tailbone. But I want you also to use your breath. So I want you to think about, as you breathe out, sucking your belly button right up into your backbone. And as you breathe in, filling up your lungs, expanding your rib cage. Let's do 2 more of these. Lovely way to mobilize the middle, lower, upper back. And just feel that breath going into your ribs. So thinking about your Pilates breath, breathing into the ribs, trying to create as much movement as possible. When you go into an arched position, when you lower your ribs towards the floor, squeeze your shoulder blades together. When you go into a rounded position, press the floor away. Try and push the floor away from you under both hands and pull your shoulder blades apart. And then I want you to find your midway point. Okay, so having been really rounded, having been very arched, find that midway point and just check in here. So let's think about that neutral shape through the pelvis. I want you to imagine you've got your squishy ball and you're sitting it on your waistband. So whatever movement you now make, you're going to try not to let the ball roll around. And I want you to slide your left foot along the floor. Keep your toes on the floor and stretch out as long as you can. Now, it's funny that we think our leg is straight, whereas invariably it isn't. So hold it there and push it just a tiny bit further. But remember, you've got that soft ball on your lower back. Don't let it roll off to the right. Then bring your left knee back in underneath you. And I want you to slide your right hand out along the floor. And again, reach as far away from you as you can. So keep your hand on the floor, fingertips on the floor, and slide your hand back in. Let's take that right leg out long, trying to keep your hips completely still. And when you think you can't go any further, slide it a tiny bit further away still. Just be mindful of your head position. Try not to drop your head. Slide your knee back in underneath you. And then slide your left hand away as far as you can. Try to find the floor right out in front towards the wall in front of you and slide your hand back in. Can we combine the two? Left leg, right hand, both stay on the floor. If that feels a little challenging, then come back to how we did it before. That's completely fine, one at a time. Otherwise, away to the opposite diagonal. And I want you to really feel that imaginary ball sitting on your waistband. So no matter where you go, your hips stay stable. Likewise, your shoulders. And don't forget to get just that tiny little bit further. When you think you can't go any further, reach just a smidgen more. Let's just do 1 more diagonal here. So think about still breathing into those ribs. Stability through the pelvis. And then just bring it all back home again into your 4-point kneeling and just check in here. Make sure you're back to that neutral shape. Now this time, left leg out long, and I want you to hook your toes in and push your heel right out. So feel that stretch into your calf, into your heel. Push it right out, and we're just going to have a little pulse there. So you're going to push away 3, 2, 1. Relax and slide your knee back in. Let's go to the other side. Slide your foot away, hook in your toes, push your heel away, and a little pulse. 3, 2, 1, and slide it back in. Now this time, as I take my left leg long, I'm going to slide my right hand out. I'm going to perch on my fingertips, right hand, hook in my toes, left side. Now my hand stays still as I push into that heel. So I don't want my fingertips to slide back in towards me. So I want to be stable through the shoulders. Then I slide my hand in with my knee. And then, of course, opposite side. You can keep your hand under your shoulder if you feel that's better for you. Otherwise, you're onto your fingertips, pushing that heel away, but your fingertips don't move. Let's do that one more time on each side. Remember, you're balancing that ball on your waistband, so you're trying not to drop your hips. Now, your hand stays still as you push your heel away. Now, watch that you haven't dropped your head. You're not looking under you, back at your knees. Your eye line is to the front of the mat, the end of the mat in front of you. Okay, now come back to your center. Just relax through those shoulders. We've got one more move to go here. I want you to take leg 1 out long. Now, if you feel that's enough for you, you're going to hold it here and we'll catch you up in a moment. Otherwise, take leg 2 out long. Now, if that's a little intense, pop your knees to the floor, okay? You're very welcome to put your knees to the floor behind your hips. Otherwise, bring leg 1 back in and bring leg 2 back in. So if you had one leg out, bring it back in, please, now. And then let's take the opposite leg out first. Now, push that heel away. Pull those ribs up and in and take that second leg out long. Remember, you've got the option of popping your knees to the floor and then bring leg 1 back in, bring leg 2 back in. And I want you to take your right hand, feed it behind your left wrist and reach right the way through and just release through that shoulder. Let your head come down towards the floor, just release here. And then bring your hand back through and let's go to the other side. Well done. Remember that when we're in our 4-point kneeling, everything there we can also do upside down. So into our dead bug. So exactly the same action. We could be lying on our back, taking one leg out long and the opposite arm. It's exactly the same joint action, but obviously the load will be changed slightly. All right, well done. I want you to come onto your right-hand side. Take your arm out long. Rest your head on your arm. Now, if you're not comfortable here, you could grab your block or your cushion and put that between your arm and your ear. So that's an option for you. Okay, upper hand on the floor in front of you. Now, just make sure, we talked about this before, the length of the upper leg, that upper hip wants to slide back in. So push it away. And can you make that upper leg just a bit longer? Okay, now lift your upper leg to hip height. Keep that length. So you've got this little bit of weight, a little bit of space here under your waist. And now lift your second leg. And then bring both back down, keeping that length. Let's lift leg 1. Now, when you lift your second leg, don't let your ribs collapse. There should still be that space there. Excuse me. And lower back down. Let's do that one more time. Lift leg 1. Lift leg 2. And lower. So you want to keep your spine as still as possible. So the action comes from here. Now this time, lift leg 1 and lift leg 2. And we're going to scissor. Now just take your time, one leg forward and one leg back. And I would say don't go too far because when we reverse it and that lower leg goes back, it's going to try to bend. I'm just going to lift my upper leg higher so you can see. That lower leg wants to bend. So push out of the hip just like you did in your 4-point kneeling a moment ago. And then again, let's swap. And again, swap. Let's do 4 more. Option to have your hand to the floor. Option to a little bit more challenge and take your hand away. But also don't forget that lower leg does not bend. Remember all the prep work we did. Now, if your arm is to the ceiling and you're a bit wobbly, that's all right. It doesn't matter, does it? It's all about progression. Okay, let's come back to the center and bring both legs back down And bring that hand back to the floor. Marvelous work. Now you're going to bend your knees and have your knees and feet in line. So rather than your heels behind you, knees and feet in line. So your shins are parallel with the front of the mat. If you want to prop yourself up here and you're more comfortable, that's an option for you. And we're going to go into an open and close. Okay, so your knee and your big toe work together. So you're sliding your knee and your big toe up and down the wall in front of you. And it's an open and close action from the hip. All right, now you've still got that sense of connection underneath your waist. So don't let your ribs sink down into the mat. Let's do 2 more. If you want to work more slowly than me and do fewer than me, that's absolutely fine. Now we're going to lift the next time and hold it halfway. I'm just going to turn slightly to an angle to make it easier to see. And we're just going to make it a small move, 2 inches forward, back to the center, 2 inches backward, back to the center, 2 inches forward, back to the center, and 2 inches backward, and center. And again, but make sure you take your leg away behind you as well as in front. Now, you're very welcome to keep your head down. I'm just propped up to talk to you at the moment. Let's just do a couple more. Oh, it starts to burn, doesn't it? Now, come back to the center, and we're just going to draw a circle with that kneecap. Can we do 3? Keeping the knee above the lower knee. 2. And 1. Keep that strength through your center. We're going to reverse for 3. Remember, you can have your head down if you prefer. 2. Ooh, 1. And come back down. It's an achy one. So what you're going to do now is put your upper knee on the floor in front of you. Move it around a little bit. If you're blocked handy, you want to, you could pop your knee on the block if you feel more comfortable, if you've got your block handy. Lower leg out straight. Now, a couple of things to think about here. Your lower leg is going to try and sneak forward because we are targeting the inner thigh muscles. Typically, they are the weakest area in the thigh. They don't want to work. If the leg sneaks forward, they get a little bit more support elsewhere. Back here, they have to work. Inner thigh muscles so important for stabilizing the knee. So don't let that leg cheat. So I want you to push your heel back so your heel is under your sit bone. Now flex your foot and lift and lower. Lift and lower. Now be careful that your lower back doesn't get grumpy. If it does, grab a cushion, grab a block, and support the knee of your upper leg, which will just help to square up those hips a little bit. All right. But I want you to really get into that inner thigh, the lower side. If you find it's really tricky, give it a good squeeze before you lift. Let's do another 4. Squeeze that inner thigh. And 3. And 2. Now lift and hold. Option to stay static here or bend your knee and take your foot behind you, but your knee doesn't come forward, and straighten. So you're only hinging at the knee. Don't let your thigh travel forward. It's going to try to, so you've got to keep pushing that kneecap backward as you bend. Let's do 3 more. So a little bit of focus into the front of the thigh, lower leg, but really getting into the inner thigh too. As I say, don't let your knee sneak forward. Let's do that 1 more time. And bend and straighten and lower back down. Whew. Bring the other leg around and let's come up to sitting. And we're going to have a stretch there. Grab your block if you want to. And I want you to take your feet nice and wide. Okay, soft through the knee, that's fine. If your legs are straight, that's okay. If you need a little bend, that too is okay. Bring your hands onto the floor and just slide forward and just feel that stretch there into the inner thighs. And come back up. Let's do a couple more. So feet are wider than they would typically be. We're going to go into the saw in a moment and we'll bring our feet a little closer. But for now, they're nice and wide, just to get that inner thigh stretch. Sit tall, and we're going to just do that 1 more time. Slide away again. And come back up. Okay, so remember, if you need to, please do feel free to sit on a block. You're going to bring your feet to about the width of the mat. Obviously, as you can see, I'm on a very wide mat, so don't be confused by that. But your feet are not too much wider than shoulder width. If they go too wide, typically they turn in. We lose that inner thigh connection, inner thighs into the pelvic floor. We're not as stable. Our legs are now our anchors. I want you to pull the backs of your knees into the floor. I want you to push the soles of your feet away. And I want you to take your arms out wide. And we're going to turn to the left. Now, as I turn to the left, I'm turning both my palms that way so that they're facing to the left. And I'm going to bring my right hand towards the inside of my right foot. I'm pulling my left arm back and I'm going to try and chop off my right foot with my right hand, but pull that left shoulder back, turn your ribs to the left and watch that you haven't put all the weight onto the right sit bone. And then come back up, sit tall, left hand, left foot, or don't worry if you can't quite get there, left inside of the leg, that's all right. And turn your ribs around to the right as you try to saw off the inside of the ankle or the inside of the shin and turn those ribs around to the right and come back. So as I come back, I'm turning my hands palms to the left. Okay, that rotation of my shoulders. Now, when you saw here, make sure that your feet haven't become windscreen wipers. Big toes to the ceiling and come back and turning my palms now to the other side. And I'm soaring for 3, 2, 1, and come back and sit tall. We're going to repeat that. We're going to take it a little bit further. If that doesn't suit you, you can carry on as you are. Otherwise, now this time I take my right hand all the way across to the opposite foot. So where I did have my right hand to my right foot, now I'm bringing it all the way across towards the outside of my left foot. And I'm going to reach forward there. Little pulse. Okay, so aiming for the ankle, if you can get a little bit further, all well and good. If you're up near your knee, then that gives you some work to do. And if you're sitting on a block, then you won't necessarily reach quite so far because you're already a couple of inches off the floor. But what I want you to think about is equal weight on the sit bones. Don't rock side to side. And think about the arm that's behind you, less about the arm that's in front of you. You're turning through the waist. Get that rotation. Look away under the shoulder behind you and pull that shoulder back. Let's do that one more time each way. Feel how the rib cage rotates. Try not to let your feet march. This is a great one to do with your feet against the wall. So you could shuffle forward, press pause when you do it on recording, shuffle forwards and have your feet flat up against the wall to make sure that your feet don't march. Come back to your center now. Bend your knees. Take the block away if you're sitting on one. And I want you just from here to roll down onto your back. Bring your head to the floor and just let your shoulders relax. Maybe roll your head side to side a couple of times perhaps. Shoulders relax, long through your neck. And I want you now to let your knees fall away and put the soles of your feet together. Give the soles of the feet a squeeze. Let the knees feel heavy. If you want to start with, you could just push there slightly, push those knees away from each other, squeeze the soles of your feet, and we're going to lift those hips up. So lift up, give the glutes a good old squeeze and lower back down. Keep your glutes engaged all the way through to protect your lower back. Squeeze as you lift and lower. Keep your knees wide, give your feet a really good squeeze. That will help the inner thigh muscles to fire and squeeze those glutes. Let's do 3 more. So push your hips up to the ceiling and lower. Just a couple more like so. Push your hips up and away and lower. We're going to just do that one last time. Okay, lower back down, superb. Now what I want you to do is keep your legs in the same angle and we're going to alternate lifting our legs. One leg you're going to lift. So your knee is turned away, lower down and put your foot back against the other foot and then lift that leg. Lower down and again give both feet a little squeeze and then lift the first leg. Now, again, just check in here. Think about the alignment through the pelvis. Make sure you're still breathing into your ribs. Make sure your thigh bones are turned out as much as is possible. And that will be, each one of us will be slightly different. Equal weight under the shoulder blades. No rocking side to side under those hips. Now, if it suits you, you could have a go for the last 2 or 3 lifting both legs. That might be a little intense. It's an option for you. Okay, great work. Let's just do that one more time. And lower back down. You can say singles or doubles. Now be really kind to your hips. Gently does it. Bring your knees back to the center. And I now want you to keep your knees and feet together. And I want you just to rock your hips forwards and backwards. Your arms are down narrow by your sides. I'm just moving my arms so that you can see me. So you're going to flatten and then arch. Feet together and knees together. Let's just do a couple more. Give those knees a little squeeze. So we're keeping that focus on the inner thighs. Now, the next time you tip your hips backwards, so the next time your back is flat, pick up your tailbone and peel yourself up and away. But can you give your knees a little squeeze? Push your hips up towards the ceiling. Curl back down into the floor. Again, tip your hips back, pick up your tailbone and roll yourself up. Let's give those knees a little squeeze there and curl back down. So keeping rounded as you can. And again, feet stay flat. So you're rolling up into bridge, giving your knees a squeeze, giving those glutes a squeeze. Can you give your inner thighs a really good squeeze? Magnets on the inner thighs, pulling them together. And that's going to really help with that pelvic floor focus as well. Let's do a couple more. And again, breathing out as you roll up. Great work. Breathing in as you come back down. And we're going to just do that one more time. Breathing out as you roll up. Super. And back down. Now, keep your knees glued together and just find your neutral pelvis. So remember your triangle, hip bone to hip bone down to the pubic bone. Keep your knees together and just lift one leg, hinge at the knee. Just lift and you're going to tap and lift. Keeping your knees together. Tap and lift. Now don't let the shape of your lower back change. Tap and lift. Let's do 3. And 2. Well done. Keeping equal weight. Don't tip over onto that side. Okay, now hold it. You've got one leg straight, both knees glued together. Now tip and tilt through your pelvis. Go into an arch and curl. Now watch that the bent leg doesn't fall away. The bent leg should be strong to hold the straight leg in position. Let's just do 3. So the bent leg is strong. It's holding against the knee of the straight leg. The straight leg's trying to dominate. Let's just do that one more time. Find your neutral pelvis. Bring your foot to the floor and just check in, feet together, knees together, second leg away. Knees stay together and it's just a little tap and extend. Just hinge through the knee. And again, tap and back down. Let's just do 2 more here. Great work. And again. Okay. Now this time, take your leg long, make sure your knees are in line, and let's just rock forward and backwards. So see how much movement you can get through your lower back. But remember, it's the inner thigh bent leg that's stabilizing that straight leg reaching right out away. Shoulders stay quiet, neck stays long. You're going to feel the back of the thigh bent leg working quite a bit as well. Wonderful. Let's just do one more and relax. Bend your knee and one last time, let your knees fall away. Oh, and just release. Release through those inner thighs. Super work, well done. Bring your knees back and let's come onto our opposite side now. So you're going to start with your legs out long, okay? Head resting on your lower arm. If you want to prop your head up, and again, absolutely fine. Upper leg, pull it away so you haven't hitched that hip up. Upper hand to the floor. Hips are stacked, and you're going to lift your upper leg to hip height. Lift your lower leg. So this is where the focus is on the inner thigh on the lower leg, and then bring them both back down. And again, so you're trying not to let the shape of your spine change as you lift and lower through the hip. Let's do that one again. Lift and lift. You're trying to push your feet away from you. Okay. Now this time, lift one, lift two, and hold. So we're going to go into our scissors here. We're going to take one forward and one back. Now remember, they're going to try to bend. That lower leg's going to try to bend. You've got the option of taking your hand away. You're very welcome to keep your hand to the floor. And we're just going to scissor. Let's do 4. Don't let that lower leg bend when it goes back. And 3. Strong through that center. And 2. Fantastic. And 1. Come back to the center and lower back down. Marvelous work. Now bend your knees and bring your knees out in front of you. And again, your knees and your feet are in line. So your shins are parallel to the front of the mat. Okay, so watch you don't have your heels behind you, heels underneath your knees, and it's just an open and close. So just open through the hip. So imagine that your kneecap and your big toe are sliding up and down the wall together. Watch that you don't leave one behind. So it's not a rotation, it's an open and close action. Fantastic. Let's just do 3. Breathe into those ribs. Think about stability through the pelvis. Wonderful work. Now this time you're going to lower part way and you're going to bring your upper knee forward a couple of inches. Take it back to the center. Push it back a couple of inches. So it's an isolation move, okay? It's a small move forward, which is why it's a little more burning. We want to make it much bigger to get a little bit more support. Keep it isolated. Really target right in here. So a couple of 4 inches forward, then to the center, couple of inches back and to the center. Couple of inches forward, return to the center. Oh my goodness me, it's a burny one, isn't it? Come back to the center. Now we're going to circle. We're only talking tennis ball size here. Let's do 3. And 2. Great work. And 1. Back to the center. Reverse. Let's do 3. Great. And 2. And 1. And bring your knee out in front of you. Okay, so again, you can put a cushion under this upper knee if you need to. Stretch your lower leg out long. And again, just make sure here that your heel is under your sit bone. Don't let that leg sneak forward. Push it back. Flex your foot and lift. Now also, when you lift, watch you don't let your foot pivot. So as your foot is lying on the floor, when you lift, it stays in the same shape. It doesn't rotate. Again, the inner thigh is going to try and outsource the problem. It's trying to look for help elsewhere, which is why you might find your heel wants to lift first or what have you. So keep your foot in line. Squeeze that inner thigh as you lift. Let's just try and do another 3 or 4 here. Again, any stress with your lower back, try lifting your upper knee. Give it a bit more support to square up through the hips. Okay, now this next time, lift and hold, and you're going to bend. Now just make sure that knee doesn't sneak forward and straight into our little Isle of Man legs here. And again, bend. Don't let the knee come forward. It's just a hinge at the knee, but it really does target the inner thigh. No, it's a tough one, but again, very helpful for supporting the knee joint. Let's just do 3, maybe 4 more here. If it's getting intense, you need to come out of it, have a breather, and then come back into it. That is absolutely fine. Keep that lower thigh off the floor. Make sure you're still squeezing your belly muscles. Keep those abs connected, still breathing into those ribs. How many have we got? Let's make this our last one and bring it back down. Push yourself up to sitting from here. Well done. Fantastic. Again, sit on a block if you need to. And I want you to take your feet just to hip width, shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider. No, not too wide. What I see people do a lot, they want to take their feet right out. We then become much less stable here because the thigh bones rotate inward. We lose the adductor inner thigh connection. We lose the pelvic floor connection, blah, blah, blah. So give your legs a purpose. They are anchors, okay? They've got a job to do. Feet are flexed. Again, you could shuffle forwards. You could push your feet flat to the wall. Make sure your little toes and your big toes are in line. What do I mean by that? Your little toes aren't pulling further away. Again, you switch off the inner thighs. So make sure that your little toe, if your feet were on the wall, little toe and big toe are against the wall, not just your little toes. Okay, bring your arms out in front. We're going into our spine stretch. So I want you to make sure you're sitting on your sit bones and you don't roll in front of them. Take a nod of your head and reach your hands forwards, but push your ribs backward. Let your head sit between your arms and then restack, sit tall, lift your head back up. Take a nod of your head and reach forward. So you're excuse me, you're pushing your ribs backwards as you reach your arms forward. Keep your feet flexed. If you need a little bend of the knees, that's absolutely fine. Then restack and sit tall. Let's do two more. Little nod of the head and reach forward. Get that stretch all the way through the middle, lower back and sit tall. Just thinking about this to just follow on from that sideline work. Make sure that lower back is happy. Let's do that one more time. Feet are square to the wall in front. Remember, don't let your little toes pull away. And sit tall. Bring your feet together. Now, if you need a bend of the knees, that's fine. If you want to sit with your legs crossed, that too is fine. If you're someone who likes to cross your legs, all well and good, but make sure halfway through you cross the other way. Okay, I'm much happier with my legs out long, but you can adapt that position. The key here is collarbone, hip bone. As always, watch that you're not here. Okay, collarbone, hip bone. So we're going to go into our spine twist, hence the position of the feet, slightly less important, position of the spine, essential. Now, I've called it my doing a Linda. I realised not everyone's watched The Traitors, but it was a very famous clip that's been shared a lot is when they said traitors and she smashed her head round and looked like this. And I thought that sums up exactly what I don't want you to do in spine twist. So the spine twist comes from the middle spine, not the head. We know we can do this with our head. We know. It's the middle spine we want to rotate. So let's start here. Okay, preacher pose, fingertips to chin, thumbs to breastbone, sternum, elbows are relaxed down, watch they're not flying, and just rotate. So the positioning of your fingers helps you to remember that your chin and your breastbone stay connected. As you come back to the center, grow ½ an inch taller. Breathe out as you turn away. Now just keep an eye that your feet aren't shuffling. If your knees are bent, make sure that your knees aren't shuffling. And again, back to the center. You can keep your hands here, or you can come into cactus arms. If you have got cactus arms, watch that one arm doesn't try and sneak forward as you turn away from it. Okay, and return away. Equal weight under your sit bones. And I want you to feel how your rib cage rotates, sorry. Rotate the rib cage as you spiral taller back to the center. If you want to extend your arms, that too is an option. Now, if you have your arms long, don't let the arms take you further than where your middle back can rotate to. So that's the only thing with the arms is we want to keep going with the arms and we sort of leave the ribs behind. So arms, whichever way they are only just in our peripheral vision. Okay, equal weight under those sit bones. A lot of strength work in the waist muscles. Let's just do a couple more each way. Breathe out, turn away. Breathe in as you return. Use your in-breath to expand the rib cage to re-support the spine. Breathe out as you turn away to allow the ribs to compress down and in to allow you a little bit more movement. And come back to your center and relax. Fabulous work. Well done. Now, we've just put a lot of focus into the waist muscles, and we're going to give them a little bit more work. I want you to come over onto your front, please. You're very welcome to pop a block under your head if you need to. Have your arms long by your sides. Now, I'm hovering my head so that you can hear me, but you're going to start with your head on the floor. Heavy through the pelvis, okay? So watch that your pubic bone, hip bones are heavy. Legs together. Now, remember here, you've got the option of both legs straight together. If that doesn't suit you, put one big toe on top of the other big toe and let your heels fall apart. So you've still got a connection with your legs, but you're allowing a slight outward rotation. So if you're a little bit tight through the hips and having your legs straight together, parallel, it doesn't suit you because you might find your hips try and pop up, then that's the alternative. Now, what I want you to do, please, is as you breathe out, lift your head, lift your chest, arms stay narrow, palms stay up to the ceiling, and push your arms right out behind you. Find the wall behind you with your fingertips, and as you breathe in, lower back down. Don't let your leg position change. Breathe out as you lift. Reach the wall behind you with your fingertips, breathing in as you lower. Thumbs touching your thighs. And again, lift. Lift up through that chest. Go on, really feel those upper back muscles working. And lower back down. Now we're going to take it just a little bit further. I want you to take a moment to super glue both hips to the floor. Now this time, lift your head, lift your chest. Keep your right hip glued to the floor and stretch your left arm down towards your left knee, therefore allowing the right arm to slide up slightly. As you come back to the center, lift your chest a little higher, slide your right hand down towards your right knee, come back to the center and lower back down. Now, please don't hold your breath all the way through that. So breathe out as you lift. Let's go right side first. Take a breath in, breathe out, reach to the right side and back to the center. Lift that chest a little higher, away to the left side. Back to your center, lift your chest a little higher and lower back down. How's that leg position? How are those hips going on? Have you got connection through the front of the pelvis? Let's do one more to each side. Lift your head, lift your chest. You've either got one big toe on top of the other, or if your legs are parallel, they're together. Don't forget that extra little lift as you come back to the center. Extra little lift to return and lower. Check your head position. Eye line to the floor. We've got one more round. Keep the length in your neck. So your eye line is down towards the floor. Ears in line with your collarbones. Away to the other side. Equal weight under both hips. Back to your center and lower back down. Bring your hands around and let's go right back to where we started. Bring yourself into a 4-point kneeling position. Because those are tough. Let's go right back to where we started. So chin to chest, tilt your pelvis, open your spine, enjoy that stretch. Pull your shoulder blades apart. Hold it here just for a moment. So when we started, it was a mobility. We were warming up. Now we're having a stretch, so we're just going to hold it here for a bit. 3, maybe 4 breaths. Breathe. Push the breath into the back of your rib cage. Whew. And then relax back down. Allow your back to arch. Hold it here. So we're shortening through the spine, but we're lengthening those abdominal muscles. Let's do that one again. We will stretch out the waist muscles. So into a rounded spine. Belly button to backbone. Head hangs heavy. and reverse it back out. And come back to the center. And I want you please come up into a high kneel. Now I'm going to stay here just for the sake of not having to alter my screen. But if you prefer to, you can come up to standing, do exactly the same thing standing. Okay? One arm to the ceiling and reach up and over. Now keep this arm as straight as you can and just hold it. So we're mimicking what we just did on the floor, but we don't have to get that lift of the chest. So this arm hangs heavy. Just let everything relax. And then as it does, can you maybe go a tiny bit further? And then come slowly back up to the center. Opposite arm away. And come over. Take a lovely big stretch here. And think again, it's that idea of from your armpit to your waistband. Try to stretch that area much as you can and just hold it. Always be patient with these stretches. Come back to the center. Okay, just roll out your shoulders. And from here, I'd like you please to find your way up onto your feet. Relax your arms down by your side. Stay open through your chest. Deep breath in. And as you breathe out, lift your arms to the ceiling. Deep breath in as you bring your arms back down. And breath in as you bring your arms down. We're going to do that one more time. All the way back up. Bring your arms back down this last time. Just turn and look over one shoulder. Very tense today, some tough work there. Bring your head to the center, look over the other shoulder. Back to your center. And we're done. Fantastic work. Any questions on this class or any, you know how to find me, always get in touch. Well done.